For more on this, Aristotle Kallis, professor of modern and contemporary history at Keele University, joins us from the UK. Professor, thanks for joining us on the program. Do you feel that the impact of the wall coming down still resonates today, or has it become lost in these last 30 years among generations who were old enough to understand or weren't even alive yet?
In many ways, yes, its significance has gone down a bit because, as you correctly point out, the image of the Iron Curtain does not mean as much now as it did mean in 1989. In 1989, it meant the end of a chapter of division, of violence, of repression. This kind of immediate connection is not so obvious now, but on another level, its significance remains at least as big as it was back then. I would say actually even more in many ways, given what is happening right now in the world, where walls are going up again rather than down.
All right, Professor, we're looking at some live images right now of the German Chancellor Angela Merkel arriving at commemoration ceremonies. So 30 years later, do you think we've circled back around since the fall of the Berlin Wall to nearly where we started?
I wouldn't put it as strongly as this, but I would say that we're seeing another transition. So if we saw that in 1989 there was a transition towards more optimism, more hope, the hope of a world without divisions, without repression, with freedom and so on, what we're seeing now is the beginning probably of another transition. And that transition may take us back to the world as it was in parts of the 20th century, or it may not, and it's up to us. This is not some kind of determined effect, as it were, but the warning signs are still there, that the world is going to use a very common phrase, backwards in that respect.
So what are some of the lessons then that we can take away from the changes we saw in 1989? And how can we apply them to what we're seeing today and some of the similarities and divisions that we thought were behind us?
I think the biggest lesson, I would say, as a historian from 1989, is that many times, things don't go according to the plan or according to what people think. I'll tell you very briefly that on the morning before the wall came down, I grew up in Athens, and I went to an exhibition about the marvel, into inverted commas, that was the German People's Democratic Republic. And the following day, of course, it was all gone. So things happen very fast. Things don't go according to plan. You cannot predict what is going to happen. And what happened in 1989 was the result of a number of different forces, long-term, but also short-term. Things did not go according to plan that very evening during that interview that the minister said, I think from now on, and then people went to the wall. The other very important message that we should get from 1989 is the importance of movements in that respect. No matter how much politicians and political orders may plan a particular political system or whatever, at the end of the day, people have still enormous power to make things different, to put pressure on political leadership and so on.